Hello YouTube, this is Chuck. Saturday, July 19th, 2025. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm taking a little bit of time this afternoon to go be van boy. And we got some storms in the vicinity, and it's cloudy, so the sun's not real brutal. And so, let me bring you along and maybe show you a little bit of stuff, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some van stuff. So I'll be back in just a minute. We're going to head out one of our little back roads here, and I just got done working on this and took a bunch of the bumps out of it and restriped it. And it's smoother and looked better than it has in a long time. I'll drive a little bit further up in here now, but obviously the Forest Service had other ideas. About a van, they're pretty nimble. You can turn them around most anywhere. We'll stop right here for a little bit. I talked the other day about my little camera mount up here and how handy it is. And the way it works is that I can put the camera in there and aim it out the front and use it like a dash cam, or I can just turn this thing slightly like that and aim the camera back this direction, and I can talk to you. The only issue that happens is this little nut right under here tends to get a little bit loose. So I got a little dedicated wrench that I just keep right here, and its whole job is just tighten that up when it's needed. And I just keep it right here with me. But that little camera mount, it's kind of been a game changer. So for a while it was starting to spit a little bit of rain, and I thought we were going to have to sit inside, but right now it's kind of nice. So let's go outside and set up a chair and let me talk to you. This road isn't really all that busy. It's my little pen there. It's actually kind of a side road, and the only reason it looks this nice is because the county just got done redoing it. So let's open this up, and let's open this one up. And let's get my chair. And we'll just sit right down here. Set my chair right up here where I can talk to you. And if we get anything interesting drive by, we can show you that. But as you can see, the skies are a little stormy this afternoon. The big storm that was spitting rains over there. This road's called Houston Mesa Road. It actually services a number of small communities out this direction. I was out there the other day talk to you a little bit about it when I was talking about my bridges video, because 3 of those bridges are out on Houston Mesa Road. But as I said, the county just got done working on it, and it's pretty nice right now. So wind blowing a little bit. I don't think it'll be enough to get wind noise on the microphone, but just wanted to get out this afternoon a little bit and talk about maybe some van stuff. And some of you may be thinking about a van, and maybe you've watched some of my videos, and there's a whole bunch of other van channels out there, and some of the people live in them full time and some of them don't. And you know, I don't claim to be a full-time van lifer. And I haven't really been getting out a whole lot. I talked about that in a video a while back, and in case you haven't watched that one, my wife's been having some medical issues lately, and it's been keeping me pretty close to home. And I don't feel real comfortable leaving her out by herself, especially overnight. And that's kind of put a hitch in my giddy up as far as going out and doing much van stuff. Diesel truck with big exhaust. But I've been having to stay home quite a bit. So my poor old van has ended up being yard art a lot of times, and of course I use it as a recording studio because it works real well, and the lighting's good and the acoustics are good. But let's talk about a little bit about if you're thinking about getting a van, and you're thinking about maybe dipping your toe in a little bit of van life travel, whether it be full-time, or maybe you are thinking about it full-time, but you just don't know where to start or how to start. So, let's talk a little bit about that. Now, y'all know that I'm a huge fan of vans. And one of the reasons why is because for the size of the vehicle, you have a lot more usable room inside than you would any other type of vehicle. But one of the biggest things is, for safety and security purposes, is that if you get in a spot where you don't feel comfortable, you can go from the back to the front and climb into the driver's seat, start the motor, and drive away without getting outside. So as long as you got your doors locked, if you feel things are getting a little sketchy, you can always leave. And of course, the key to that is don't park pointing in somewhere. Where you always park, especially if you're uncomfortable a little bit, always park somewhere facing out, because you can always go somewhere else. And that's that's a huge thing, especially if you're by yourself. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a guy or a gal. Sometimes the gals may feel a little bit more vulnerable, but I don't want to get into that spat. If you haven't watched my video that's gotten all-time #1 number of views, is one that I did quite a while ago, and it was called Some Thoughts on Senior Females in Van Life. And that thing went viral, got over 100,000 views. So, I'll put a link to that down in the description if you want to watch that one. But it got a lot of both positive and a handful of negative comments, because there's a few gals that watched that and thought I was taking swipes at them, and I wasn't. It was a very positive video. But anyway, let me just give you some opinions of mine about van life. If you're thinking about getting one, let's say you're driving a car now. Well, you can buy a van and sell your car and buy a van and get used to driving it. There's nothing wrong with driving a van around as your daily driver, and then you'll get used to it. You'll get used to how big it is, how it turns, how it feels, how it drives, and that's real important, especially if you're getting out on someplace all by yourself and you don't want any surprises. You want to have everything as normal as you possibly can. Now, do you need to spend a whole lot of money on a van? No, you don't. No, you can just you can start out even with a minivan. Minivans are cheap. If all you're looking for is someplace to be able to sleep, get out of the weather to sleep, then a minivan is fine. You don't have to be structural engineer to take the seats out of it. A lot of them, the seats come right out. You can throw a cot and a little bit of a camping mattress in there and just use it as a place to sleep. But get used to it. You know, go out someplace close, and we've got the sun come out now finally. It's been on and off all day here. Been a little gloomy. But get used to driving it day to day. Get used to what's in there. Take it out for a weekend, even if you go sleep in your driveway in it. Just get used to it, and how it fits and why it works for you, and what the little nuances are. Now, I'm a huge fan of something I can get up and walk around in, and that's why I really, really like the high top van. And but you don't have to have that. There's a lot of people that don't have high top vans, and of course the difference is, if my van's pretty comfortable if I get cooped up in it in a hot day, or rainy day, I should say, when I can't get out. It's cold and windy and raining, something like that. My van's big enough that I can tolerate being inside of it. I think if I was in a minivan where I had to be either sitting in the driver's seat or laying down in the bed, I think I'd get real, real tired of that real quick. And you're going to have bad weather days. It's going to happen. But I guess the number one thing to think about in the van, I guess before anything else, is having one dependable and reliable. Now, what I tell anybody that asks me is, if you're looking for a van and you pick one, well, take it to them before you spend money on it. Have a mechanic look at it, and if you find anything wrong with it, have it fixed. Don't spend a nickel, not 1 red cent, converting the inside until you know that the mechanical work is done. I don't know how many times that I've watched videos from van lifers, especially the school bus people. They're notorious for this. They'll buy a bus, and then they'll spend $20,000 converting it and trying to make it their own, and then have the engine go bad. And all of a sudden they're looking at, another big truck went by. Then all of a sudden they're looking at $15,000, $20,000 worth of repairs to a diesel engine after they spent all that money converting a bus they shouldn't have bought to start with. And one little sidebar to that is, especially you folks that live up in the east and the northeast especially, I would say there is no such thing as a good deal on a rusty vehicle. Now let me say that again. There's no such thing as a good deal on a rusty vehicle. Rust is insidious. It can cost you thousands of dollars to fix. And unless you're really, really pretty sharp on such things, you may not realize how bad it is. So if you live up in the north and you're thinking about buying a van, think about trying to find one from the south somewhere where rust is not an issue. Now let me tell you about my van when I bought it, because I broke a lot of my own rules. I was looking for a van. I was looking for something super cheap, and I'm an old gearhead, an old hot rodder mechanic, and got a garage full of tools, and I wasn't really so worried about the mechanics on it. So when I first laid eyes on this van, this is 10 years ago now, I can tell you that as I drove up, I'm looking at it about a half a block away when I saw it, and I told myself I was going to buy it. And there was 2 reasons for that. Number one was it had the high top. I knew I could stand up in it, and that was real important to me. And I'd seen a lot of people that crawl around on their hands and knees in a van, and I'm getting kind of old for that. And the other thing, and it may be a simple thing, but it's just me, is that it wasn't red. Or, excuse me, it wasn't white. It was that gray color. I like the color to this day. I like the color. And I just have a thing against white vans. I'm sorry, I just do. And so the fact that, number one, it had a high top. Number two, it wasn't white. And I knew the family of these Ford vans, and I knew what motors were in them and all that kind of stuff. And so even looking at it as I was driving up to it, I knew that whatever I could find that was wrong with it, I could probably fix it if I could buy it right. And when I first bought this van, it had a lot of mechanical issues. and it was gutted. I built the interior. I've talked about that in all of my videos before. And if you go back on my channel homepage and look at my van stuff playlist, there's over 60 videos about this van, about various things I've done to it and repairs and some adventures and some other stuff. So, you know, 60 videos will keep you busy for a little bit. But the one right at the very top of the playlist is my van tour, and that'll tell you a lot more about it. I'm not going to go through all that again today. But standing up inside of one, to me, was a priority. So what am I looking for? Number one, as I said before, number one would be something that's dependable, that doesn't have some big mechanical problem lurking behind the scenes, getting ready to reach out and bite you the first time you take it on a road trip. I did have that with this van. In this van, as I've said before in other videos, if somebody would have had to take this van to a garage every time something went wrong with it, it would have put them in the poorhouse real fast. The only redeeming quality I have is that I was able to work on it myself and I was able to fix it. So, but that's me. It may not be somebody else. So number one is something dependable. Number two, rust-free, or at least minimal rust. This one had one little tiny patch of rust on the left rear corner, and I don't even know where that came from. But that was the only rust I found on it, which is kind of interesting because this came out of the upper Midwest. And it doesn't have very many miles on it. It's only got 83,000 miles on it. So it obviously, and it's a 1991, so it obviously spent a lot of time sitting somewhere. Didn't get driven much. But that, so it had this one little spot, and I took a look at it, and I treated with rust preventative, and it hasn't spread. And so that's been my only real rust issue on this one. Other than that, the underside of it looks pretty darn good. So the next thing is make sure that all the doors and all that kind of stuff work. You can lock yourself in. Security. You want a secure place. Now, there's nothing wrong with window vans. I like windows. But if you're going to be sleeping in a window van, you need to figure out some way to block the windows from the inside. And there's all kinds of ways to do that. If nothing else, you can spray paint the inside of them. Or you can use blackout insulation. It's black on one side and silver on the other. And just something that if you're sleeping in there, everybody who walks by can't see you. Now, the way I do that with this is I do have blackout curtains. And I have a pull curtain right up behind the driver's seat. You can see the curtain rod running across right in front of that wood up there. Right up there. That curtain pulls across there and not only works for privacy, but it also keeps the heat in when it's cold. And keeps the heat out, because you get a lot of heat loss and heat accumulation through that glass in the front. And I've got a similar one of those in the back, across the back door windows. I also have blackout curtains for the side windows, like in the doors here. Now, I don't have anything for the upper windows up there, because they're high enough, unless you're Shaquille O'Neal, you can't look in them anyway. So I don't worry too much about that. And I don't even use my blackout curtains most of the time, because where I camp at, I don't need them. I very, very seldom camp anywhere where there's any people around. And if I do camp where there's other people around, they're usually people I know, and I don't worry about it. So privacy, being able to have, somebody not be able to walk right up and look right in at you when you're sleeping, that's a pretty important thing for security purposes. So then what else do you need? Well, if you've ever done any camping whatsoever, all you really need to do is use your camping stuff inside your van. Because all your van really is a means to get where you're going, a means to carry all your stuff, and a place to sleep. If you're cooking outside, if you cooked outside before, well, you can cook inside, you can cook outside again. So, I don't believe in systems. My van doesn't have systems. It's got just a camp stove that I can cook inside or outside, a little single burner butane gas stove. I use a stainless steel salad bowl for a sink, so I can just dump it wherever whatever I need to. No different than if you're camping somewhere. So basically, my van is just a place to hang out, and a place to sleep, and a place to carry all my stuff. And that's all you really need. You know, I watched a video this morning of a very, very, very nice camper van. I mean, that thing was drop dead beautiful. I'd love to have it. But the price was pushing $200,000. Of course, it was new. And, you know, I don't have that kind of money. And you don't need it. You know, I spent a grand total of $1,400 to buy this van. And even as it's sitting right now, and I've had it for about 10 years now, I've had it built out and been using it for 9. And I still, to this day, I've only got about $1,400 in it. Or excuse me, purchase price is $1,400. But to this day, I only have $5,000 in it. And yeah, I had the motor apart, and yeah, I've had some challenges, mechanical challenges, but it's pretty solid shape now. It used a little more oil than it should, and there's a reason behind that I've talked about in other videos. And it's starting to sprinkle. So let's move inside. This video is sure going to be a convoluted hodgepodge of a lot of stuff, and I don't even know if it's going to be worth watching or not, but we're back inside now because it started raining a little bit outside, and I wasn't worried about getting wet. I was worried about getting the camera wet. So now I'm using my steering wheel clip for the phone, and that works really, really good. So anyway, picking up where we left off, and is you don't need a lot of fancy stuff. You don't need to buy a $200,000 van. Now, would I ever buy a $2,000 van? You know, I've given that a lot of thought. If I was to win the lottery or something happened, and yeah, I might be tempted to. If I had the money, I might be tempted to buy one of those. But you know, it puts you in a whole different class. And you know, there's a whole lot of people out there that would they kind of. Well, I don't know what kind of truck. That looks like a big mechanic's truck of some kind. Boy, it's a big 10-wheeler thing with a crane on it. And it's interesting. It wasn't very loud. I'll put the window down again. I'll still sprinkle a little bit. Anyway, there's a whole different class of people that have the big expensive vans. And I guess that's okay. But I'm kind of more grounded in the people maybe that don't have a lot. And, you know, this van's, you know, it's a 1991, so it's, you know, 34 years old. And there's not a whole, you know, I'm not real pretentious, and you know, I don't have a lot of money, and I don't pretend like I do, and I tend to like to hang out with real people. And sometimes, you know, somebody that spends that much money on a van, you know, maybe they're not as the kind of people that'd be the kind of people I'd hang around with anyway. So would I do it? Yeah, I've fantasized about it, but I've also fantasized if I was to suddenly come into a bunch of money, that maybe I'd just send this van somewhere and have it completely gone through a whole new drivetrain, have it converted to 4-wheel drive. And because this thing's a little bit unusual, you don't see a lot of vans like this one, and I like this body style. But there's no reason why you can't get out if you're thinking about traveling in a van. You know, there's no reason why you can't go out and just give it a try. You can go rent one. A lot of people tell you to do that, and that's okay. You can do that. And but get out and try it a little bit. And remember that a lot of the YouTube channels will show you all the fancy glory part of van life, and it's all not like that. But there's also quite a few channels out there that'll tell you how it actually is. You know, and I can tell you that I have never once overnighted in a Walmart parking lot. I've never overnighted in a Cracker Barrel parking lot. I've never overnighted with this van, even at a casino. I have overnighted a few times with my truck and travel trailer in casinos, but I've never overnighted. I've never actually spent a nickel to stay overnight anywhere with this van. And like I said, I've been running it just the way it is now, built out the way it is for over 9 years. And but then again, I live out west, and there's a lot of public land, And every place that I've ever stayed has either been on Forest Service land or BLM land. I'm sure I've not knowing where the boundaries were. I probably stayed on private land a few times. I stayed at some friends' land on some friends' acreage, so yeah, that was private land. But I've never paid a nickel to stay anywhere. And so you don't have to either. It takes a little bit of, it's just like anything else. You gotta decide to do it, and you gotta go ahead and get comfortable. A lot of times, if you're not comfortable being by yourself, look around a little bit, and you can probably find somebody else that's in the same boat you are. And traveling together with 2 vans is a good idea, because vans can always break down. Even the new ones break down. There's a gal that has a brand new $200,000 Winnebago Echo van, and I just saw where her brand new zillion-dollar van broke down, left her stranded on the side of the road. Any of them can do it. So there is safety in numbers. A lot of people travel like 3 and 4 of them together. And I think if I did it all the time, that's probably what I would want to do as well. Although I've got an independent streak, but that's okay, because if you have a little group, you don't have to park 10 feet apart. You can park a ways apart, so you got your privacy and still be close enough to others if there's a problem somewhere. And that's what I would prefer, and that's what I would recommend. But this has been kind of a crazy ramble, and I don't even know if I use it or not. And I've tried some oddball camera stuff, and so let's go ahead and try ending this one here. I'm gonna try one more little thing here. While I got this thing clipped to the steering wheel, is I usually end up using one of these things, but of course, as I said, I'm not supposed to do that anymore. So one thing I've been going to try is recording from this steering wheel mount while I'm driving. So let's head back into town. Let's try that and see how it works. Now, when I steer, it's going to take you down where you're looking at my dashboard. And I don't know how successful that's going to be, but you never know till you try. And if it doesn't work, you'll never see it. So let's get going. I'm going to stop it and start recording the other direction. Well, this video has been kind of a chopped up mess. So I'm headed back home now, and I tried some different camera stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Saturday afternoon, traffic's a little bit busy. We'll go back home and see what the spousal unit has planned for dinner. So let's go ahead and end this one here. Or let's borrowing a phrase from my friend Campervan Kevin, where are we going to end this video? We're going to end it right here. So, why don't y'all, as I always tell you, take care of each other and love each other. Take care of yourself. Show gratitude for what you have. And we'll be back in another one. And hopefully I can chop up all this stuff I've been recording this afternoon into something that makes some sense. But, and if I don't, you'll never see this. So, until I talk to you again, let me just tell you, peace out.